This episode is brought to you by Stirling Soap Company. How often do you think about your soap? Well, if you answered, not much, maybe you should. You see, a lot of what passes for soap in stores is technically not soap, according to the FDA's definition. It's full of lab-created chemicals and detergents because, well, it's cheaper to make. Now, what if you could buy natural soap made from natural ingredients like tallow, palm oil, coconut oil, and scented with essential oils, and for just a little more than you'd pay for grocery store soap? Stirling soap is 100% natural, and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for just about everybody. Check them out for yourself at stirlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. Are you a hockey fan? Then you'll love Eric Zweig's new book, Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2. It's a treasure trove of untold tales, bizarre incidents, and captivating trivia that will leave even the most devoted puckhead astounded. The intense rivalries, epic showdowns, and historic clashes that shaped the NHL's early years, it's all in there. Zweig uncovers the true stories that helped shape the sport, ensuring that you will never look at hockey the same way again. Check out Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. Welcome back to another edition of This Day in Sports History, a proud member of the Sports History Network. I'm Steve White, your host for another spin around the scrolls of sports history and a deep dive into what happened on this day, August 8th. On this day in 1992, it was the Dream Team bringing home the gold medal. The 1992 Summer Olympics were in Barcelona, and probably the biggest change and the most anticipated events to watch were the men's basketball games featuring, for the first time, NBA players. Of course, you remember the Dream Team, right? Jordan, Pippen, Ewing, Bird, Magic, Barkley, Drexler, Stockton, Malone, Pippen, Chris Mullin, David Robinson, and Christian Laettner, with Laettner being the only guy without NBA experience. Now, it's widely thought that the failure of the U.S. men's basketball team to win gold in the 1988 Seoul Olympics led directly to the U.S. sending NBA players to these Olympics. But that's not quite correct. The first thing to understand is that FIBA is the governing body for international basketball. They set the rules on which players were eligible to play on the international stage. Prior to the 88 games ending, FIBA made a decision to call a meeting to discuss opening up international play, not just the Olympics, but the FIBA World Championships and other international events to NBA players. And that decision came from within FIBA, not from pressure applied by the U.S. In fact, you can thank Borislav Stankovic for the Dream Team. He was the man that had been ringing the bell for the best to play the best since 1976, and it almost came to fruition in 1986, but the vote came up just a few votes short. It wasn't until 1991 that the measure finally garnered enough support to pass, and it passed with the U.S. voting against it. So even though the U.S. had not supported the measure, the powers that be in U.S. basketball got behind the effort, and we indeed sent our best. The U.S. started off the round-robin portion of the tournament by beating Angola by 68 points, then Croatia by 33, Germany by 43, Brazil by 44, and beating Spain by 41. Then it was on to the knockout stage, where the U.S. eliminated Puerto Rico by 38, and then advanced to the gold medal game with a 51-point win over Lithuania. And that set up a rematch with Croatia in the gold medal game played on this day in 1992. Croatia actually had a lead in this one, up 25-23 with 9:44 to play in the first half. But Charles Barkley hit a three, and the U.S. never trailed again. They led by 14 at the half, and then rolled to the 117-85 win to bring the gold medal back to the U.S. Jordan led the U.S. in scoring with 22, as 7 U.S. players scored in double figures. The average margin of victory for the Dream Team in the '92 Olympics was 44 points. On this day in 2021, it was the U.S. women's team winning Olympic gold in the Tokyo Games that had been postponed from 2020. The U.S. beat the host nation Japan in the championship game. Brittany Griner scored 30 to lead the way, and it was the 7th consecutive gold medal that the U.S. women had secured, and it was the 5th gold medal for Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi. The women won their 6 games by an average of 16 points. On this day in 1988, the lights were turned on at Wrigley Field, and the Chicago Cubs played a night game. Except there was a problem. Since 1935, Major League teams had been playing under the lights. When Cincinnati became the first team to illuminate their field on May 24, 1935, Major League teams had gradually adopted it until there was one lone holdout. The Cubs held out for 53 years before finally succumbing to the pressure. When 91-year-old Cubs superfan Harry Grossman flipped the switch to light Wrigley Field, it was the end of an era. But progress is progress, and the traditionalists who had rallied against it would eventually come around. More than 36,000 fans and 500 media members were in attendance on this night. The Cubs were playing the Phillies, which, a little baseball trivia for you here, was the opponent when the lights were turned on for the first time in Cincinnati back in '35. Phil Bradley rocked a Rick Sutcliffe pitch into the bleacher seats and left in the first. Ryan Sandberg hit one in the bottom half to tie it up again. But weather soon moved into the area. Gusty winds, rain, thunder, and lightning suspended play after 3.5 innings, with the Cubs up 3-1. When the umpires called the game before it was an official game, it wiped the scoreboard clean, and this game does not exist in the record books. It's more of a historical footnote. The first official home game under the lights for the Cubs would be played the following night when Chicago beat the New York Mets 6-4. On this day in 1905, Ty Cobb's father was shot and killed by his mother. A telegram telling Ty that his father was dead did not arrive until the next day. It read, "Come home at once. Your father dead in shooting accident. Hurry." It had been sent to him by a friend of his back in Royston, Georgia. The 18-year-old Cobb was playing in the minor leagues at this point with the Augusta Tourists of the South Atlantic League. Cobb rushed home, and when he got there, he walked into a chaotic scene of grieving relatives, policemen, news reporters, and curious onlookers outside, wondering what had happened. What came out was more than a bit shocking for small-town Georgia, and once the whole story came out, someone, most assuredly, was destined to die on this night. It took a while, but Ty came to learn that his mother, Amanda, had mistakenly shot her husband, W.H. Cobb, thinking he was attempting to break into the house. 2 shots had been fired from the bedroom through the window, killing W.H. on the front porch. Why was he lurking on the front porch? Well, here is where it gets a little bit salacious. W.H. thought his wife was cheating with another man. Earlier in the evening, he told his wife that he was going out to their farm and would not be returning until the morning. But that was just a ruse to catch his wife and her lover in the act. Once night had fallen and the stars had come out, W.H. doubled back to the house. He pulled his pistol and apparently was intent on killing the other man, and more than likely Amanda as well. He crept up on the porch and peered into the window. Amanda, thinking it was a burglar, fired the 2 killing shots. The police had their suspicions, though. The story Amanda was telling did not seem to match what they were seeing with their own eyes. She was arrested and charged with manslaughter, but was later acquitted at trial in March the following year. Cobb was devastated by the loss of his father, as would be the case with most people. He told his biographer, Al Stump, "My father had his head blown off when I was 18 years old. I didn't get over it. I've never gotten over it." When Ty had embarked on his baseball career, his father told him to go for it. And I want to tell you one other thing. Don't come home a failure. He put that advice to work for him. 3 weeks after his father's tragic death, he made his major league debut with the Detroit Tigers. Cobb has the reputation of being a mean and disagreeable person, and it was well earned. but he later admitted that the loss of his father and then how his Tigers teammates hazed him during the short time that he was with them at the end of the '05 season changed him. He actually spent 44 days in a sanitarium during the 1906 season, dealing with the tragedy, his grief, and his anger. And it turned him into the angry cuss that he went on to be. And on this day in 1992, it was the 4x100 meter final in Barcelona with Carl Lewis as the anchorman. Lewis was the current world record holder in the 100 meters, so if the baton got to him with the lead, it was a done deal. The U.S. relay team entered the event as both the Olympic record holder and the world record holder. When Leroy Burrell handed the baton to Lewis in the final turn, the Americans had a slight lead, and then Lewis exploded, putting distance between him and the rest of the field and crossing the line in 37.4 seconds, beating their own world record by a tenth of a second. It was sweet redemption for the U.S. team that 4 years earlier in Seoul had not ever gotten out of the heats after a poor exchange and a dropped baton ended their chances. This year's 4x100 final is set for tomorrow. The U.S. men have not medaled in the 4x100 since 2004 in Athens and haven't won gold since the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. Time now for today's non-sports fun fact. A honeybee will visit up to 100 flowers during a collection trip. That's all for today. And hey, I've been using a new podcast app to listen to my daily podcasts. It's called Good Pods. It's pretty cool, and one unique thing about it is it allows you to rate each episode. And last time I checked, this day in sports history was 27th out of the top 100 sports podcasts on Good Pods. So if you want to help me out, give Good Pods a try, listen to the show, and give an episode a 5-star rating. And let's see if we can bump this dish into the top 10. Find the Good Pods app in the App Store or Google Play Store. I'll be back tomorrow with more This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.